Have you ever experienced a moment when the world outside looks exactly the same, but inside, something has changed forever? People keep walking. They keep talking. They keep laughing. But for you, it feels like time has suddenly stopped. I felt that for the first time when I was very young. Back then, the world saw me as a child with a promising future. A child whose path seemed already written. A child who was expected to achieve greatness. But no one knew that inside my heart, I carried the same fears, the same doubts, the same questions that many of you may carry today. My name is Marcus Aurelius. History remembers me as an emperor, a ruler of Rome, a Stoic philosopher. But long before I wore a crown, I was simply a child trying to understand life. During my childhood, Rome was the most powerful city in the world. Its magnificent buildings, its unstoppable armies, its endless wealth, everything about Rome made people believe that it would last forever. People looked at power and felt admiration, but I saw something different. I saw that even the most powerful people were fighting battles no one could see. Some chased wealth, some chased recognition, some spent their lives trying to prove their worth. But I noticed something. Every person was afraid of losing something. And perhaps that was the first question that began changing my life. If a person has everything the world can offer, but still has no peace inside, do they truly have anything at all? As a child, I often sat quietly and watched people. I paid attention not only to their words, but to their eyes, because the eyes reveal what words often hide. I saw people smiling while carrying pain inside. I saw powerful men who were controlled by their own anger. I saw people who had everything, yet were still searching for something they could not name. That was when I began to understand that the greatest battle a person faces is not against the outside world. It is the battle within their own mind. But life does not only give us questions. Sometimes it gives us experiences that become the answers. And my first great lesson came through pain. A pain I was not prepared for. A loss that would teach me for the first time that nothing in this world truly belongs to us forever. That day, Rome looked exactly the same. The sun rose above the city. People continued their daily lives. The markets were open. The streets were filled with voices. Outside, everything seemed normal. But inside my life, something had changed. Something no one else could see. For the first time, I understood that the greatest storms are not always found in the sky. Sometimes they arrive silently inside the human heart. At that age, I did not understand something important. I believed being strong meant not feeling pain, holding back tears, hiding emotions, pretending nothing could hurt me. But over time, I learned the truth. Real strength is not refusing to feel pain. Real strength is understanding the pain and still choosing to move forward. When I look back now, I realize something. That first difficult experience did not break me. It prepared me, because the years ahead would bring greater challenges, wars, illness, loneliness, and responsibilities heavy enough to change any human being. But at that moment, I was still only a child learning his first lesson about life. I learned that when we lose something, we do not always lose only a person or a possession. Sometimes, we lose the person we used to be. And in that empty space, a new version of ourselves begins to emerge. But what I didn't know then was that this first loss would not be the hardest lesson life would give me, because the future was preparing me for a truth that would change everything. And that truth would shape the man beneath the crown. The days that followed were unlike anything I had ever known. No one sat beside me and explained how to carry grief. No teacher handed me a scroll that could tell me why life takes away the people and moments we love the most. Instead, life remained silent. And in that silence, my mind became louder than ever. I asked myself questions that had no easy answers. Why does loss exist? Why do we love if one day we must let go? Why does the heart hold on to what time refuses to keep? For weeks, those questions followed me everywhere, even in the busiest streets of Rome. I felt alone. I smiled when others expected me to smile. I spoke when people expected words. But inside, I was searching for something that no one else could see. Perhaps you know that feeling. Perhaps you've sat in a room full of people, yet felt completely alone. Perhaps you've smiled, while your heart quietly carried a weight. No one noticed. If you have, then you already know the road I was walking. One afternoon, I wandered into the garden, where I often escaped the noise of the city. The wind moved gently through the trees. Birds sang without worry. The world continued, as if nothing had happened. At first, that made me angry. How could the world remain so peaceful when mine had been turned upside down? Then I noticed something. The old oak tree standing before me, its trunk was scarred. Several branches had broken long ago. Time had left its marks upon it. Yet, it was still alive, still growing, still offering shade to everyone who passed beneath it. That tree said nothing, but somehow, it taught me my first lesson. Scars do not stop life from growing. Not long after, one of my teachers found me sitting there. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he asked quietly, "Marcus, what troubles your heart?" I wanted to answer, "Everything." Instead, I remained silent. He sat beside me. Neither of us spoke. Minutes passed. Then he said something I have carried with me for the rest of my life. Pain arrives without asking permission, but suffering often begins when we demand that life should have been different. At first, I didn't understand. How could accepting pain make it hurt less? But the question stayed with me, just as his words did. That evening, I lay awake, watching the candle beside my bed slowly burn. The flame did not fight the darkness. It simply continued to shine. And suddenly, I realized something. I had been fighting reality itself. I kept wishing that yesterday could return, that nothing had changed, that life would become what it once was. But life never moves backward. Only we do, inside our memories. That realization frightened me because it meant I had a choice. I could spend my life holding on to what was gone, or I could honor what I had lost by becoming wiser because of it. That was not acceptance. Not yet. Acceptance takes time, sometimes a very long time, but it was the first small step. Years later, people admired my discipline. They believed I had been born calm, born wise, born different. They were wrong. Every lesson I would one day share was first learned through struggle, through confusion, through nights when I questioned everything. Wisdom did not appear the day I put on a crown. It was built, one painful lesson at a time. Just like stone becomes smooth only after years beside a river. Looking back now, I no longer see that painful season as the moment life became unfair. I see it as the moment life quietly began preparing me for the man I was meant to become. Because sometimes our greatest teacher does not arrive carrying answers. Sometimes it arrives carrying loss. But I had no idea that an even greater test was already waiting for me. A test that would force me to choose between fear and duty. And that choice would change the course of my life forever. There is something no one tells you about pain. It does not disappear simply because time passes. Some wounds become quiet. Others wait for a memory, a place, or a single familiar voice to awaken them again. For a long time, I believed healing meant forgetting. I was wrong. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is remembering without allowing the memory to control your life. That lesson changed everything. As the months passed, I slowly returned to my studies. My teachers continued to speak about philosophy, about reason, about virtue, about the discipline of the mind. But this time, their words sounded different. Before my loss, there is something. No one tells you about pain. It doesn't disappear simply because time passes. Some wounds become quiet. Others wait for a memory, a place, or a single familiar voice to awaken them again. For a long time, I believed healing meant forgetting. I was wrong. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is remembering without allowing the memory to control your life. That lesson changed everything. As the months passed, I slowly returned to my studies. My teachers continued to speak about philosophy, about reason, about virtue, about the discipline of the mind. But this time, their words sounded different. Before my loss, I heard ideas. After my loss, I heard truth. Because suffering has a strange way of making wisdom easier to recognize. Words that once seemed ordinary suddenly carried great weight. One day, my teacher asked me another question. "Marcus, what belongs to you?" I answered without thinking. "My family, my future, my name, my home." He smiled gently and shook his head. "No, those are gifts. They may stay, they may leave, but they are never truly yours." I felt confused. If they are not mine, then what is? He looked directly into my eyes. Your character, your choices, the way you respond when life refuses to obey your wishes. Those words struck me more deeply than any lesson I had ever heard. Because for the first time, I understood that while I could not control what happened to me, I could always choose who I became because of it. That realization did not erase my grief. It did something far more valuable. It gave my grief a purpose. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" I began asking, "What is this pain trying to teach me?" That single question changed the direction of my life. Perhaps it can change yours as well. Think about your own life. Maybe someone disappointed you. Maybe someone you loved walked away. Maybe you lost a dream you worked years to build. Your first instinct is probably the same as mine was. To ask, "Why me?" But what if there is a better question? What if the real question is, "What kind of person will I become after this?" That question has the power to transform suffering into wisdom. Looking back now, I no longer wish that my first great loss had never happened. Not because I enjoyed the pain. No one does. But because without it, I might have spent my entire life believing that happiness depends on perfect circumstances. Instead, I discovered something greater. Peace does not begin when life finally becomes easy. Peace begins the moment we stop demanding that life be different before we allow ourselves to live it. Years later, when people called me, the philosopher king. They saw only the finished statue. They never saw the countless cracks that shaped it. They admired my calm. They praised my discipline. But every quiet decision, every patient response, every moment of courage had been forged inside battles no one else ever witnessed. And perhaps that is true for you as well. The strongest parts of your character are often being built in seasons that no one applauds. If today your heart feels heavy, do not mistake that weight for weakness. Sometimes it is simply proof that your soul is growing stronger, not despite the pain, but because of it. I believed my first loss was the hardest lesson life would ever ask me to endure. I was wrong, because the years ahead would place something far heavier upon my shoulders. Not grief, not loneliness, a crown, and with it, a responsibility that would test everything I thought I had learned. My greatest battle was still waiting for me. There is one memory that has never left me. Even now, after wars, after victories, after the weight of an empire, I can still remember the silence. It was not the silence of the streets. Rome was never truly silent. It was the silence inside me, the silence that appears when you finally stop asking life to explain itself. For years, I searched for certainty. I wanted promises. I wanted guarantees. I wanted someone to tell me that if I lived wisely, I would never suffer again. Life smiled and answered with silence, because that promise does not exist. The truth is that life owes us nothing. Not another sunrise, not another conversation, not another tomorrow. At first, that thought terrified me. Then, it set me free. Because if nothing is guaranteed, then every ordinary moment becomes extraordinary. A shared meal, a quiet walk, a friend's laughter, a peaceful evening. These are not small things. They are life itself. People often believe that becoming stronger means becoming harder. I believed that once. I thought wisdom meant building walls around the heart, never becoming too attached, never allowing anyone close enough to hurt me. But I discovered something far more beautiful. A closed heart does not protect us. It only prevents us from truly living. Real strength is loving fully while knowing nothing lasts forever. That is courage, not certainty. As I grew older, I stopped asking, how can I avoid pain? Instead, I began asking, how can I remain kind, even when life becomes difficult? That question became the foundation of everything I would later write, not because I had mastered it, but because I needed its answer every single day. Even an emperor must practice wisdom, one ordinary moment at a time. If you are listening to my story today, perhaps you are carrying your own invisible burden. Perhaps someone you loved is no longer beside you. Perhaps you are grieving a dream, a relationship, or a version of yourself that no longer exists. If that is true, then hear me carefully. Do not rush your healing. Do not measure your progress against someone else's journey, and never believe that your pain makes you weak. Some of the strongest souls are quietly carrying the heaviest hearts. My first great loss did not teach me how to avoid suffering. It taught me something far more valuable. It taught me that peace is not found at the end of pain. Peace is found in the way we choose to walk through it. That lesson would stay with me for the rest of my life. Years later, people would call me the last good emperor. They would read my words, study my thoughts, search for wisdom inside my journal. But very few would ever know where that wisdom began. It began with a frightened young boy who discovered that the human heart can break and still continue to love. As I look back now, I no longer remember my first loss with bitterness. I remember it with gratitude, because without that pain, I might never have learned how deeply a human being can grow. And perhaps one day, you will look back at your own hardest season and realize it was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of the person you were always meant to become. But life was not finished with me. The greatest responsibility I would ever carry was quietly approaching. A responsibility I never asked for, a crown I never expected, and a destiny that would force me to choose between the comfort of the boy I had been and the duty of the man I was about to become. That is where our next journey begins.